Hello and welcome to Loving Me, Myself, and Life with me, Jody Misiak. And welcome back to the fourth and last episode of Finding Your Way Back to Happy. So over the past 3 weeks before this one, we've been talking about when poop hits the fan. What do you do? Letting go of expectations. And when all else fails, what do you do? Now we're going to talk about how do you shift perspectives? Like I mentioned last episode, I felt like life was using me as a punching bag. I felt so worn out from that month and a half of life just not going flowingly, like just not really going. I didn't feel any love. I didn't feel very supported, and I just felt really off and unbalanced. Even though the whole month of July I felt pretty balanced. It was my word of the month, so that was pretty funny. In retrospect, I guess. I was kind of laughing when I was like, oh man, I laughed through the pain. I was like, oh my goodness, Alex, my word of the month in July was balance, and now I feel completely out of balance in August and into September. Anyways, once the kids got to school and everything, both kids were in school, things were working out. I got back into my office. I started getting into my morning routine again, still shaking off that cough a little bit. I finally was just like, okay, what can I do now to shift? Like, I still really didn't feel completely like myself and completely in flow. Now, again, life isn't always flowing, but I know what it feels like when you are in flow. Like, I've been there so many times now that I know when I'm in it and when I'm not in it. And like a cold, when you're not in flow and you know that you want to be or you have been, you can really feel it. And then it feels like you can never get out of it. Like when you get a cold, it's like, oh my goodness, is this going to ever get better? And you're all like in this negative vibe. Well, anyways, like my cold, my life is changing and shifting. And it all started with shifting perspective. I really needed to start doing something to help me with that. And I started reading books and audio and just really leaning into my morning routine, my yoga practice, working out when I felt good to do so. Because like I said, I still had that lingering cough. So some movement would still make me all coughy, and not coffee like you drink, but like coughing, haha, like, good times. So I was like leaning into my morning routine, meditation, tapping. And that's when I decided I really needed to shift my perspective. And how did I do that? Gratitude. I started making gratitude a daily practice. I usually do, but when life gives you a little beating and life is not flowing, sometimes we forget some of the basics. And that is being grateful for the little things in life. In the first episode, I said, celebrating the little wins. Those were little moments of gratitude. But I have been over the past while now, since, say, the beginning of the week, really focusing on my gratitude practice. And I have to say, even just been a few days, I feel the difference. I feel the flow in my life. I feel so much more connected to myself. Because including in my yoga practice, meditation, and tapping, I've made gratitude part of my morning routine, where I remind myself how important it is to look at the things in my life that are going right. And when you start your day in gratitude, I find it easier to find the things in your life you see more things and you're more grateful for things in life throughout your day. So I used to do gratitude at night. I'd lay in bed and just be grateful. I'd list off all the things that I was grateful for as I was going to sleep. Like in my head. Not like the whole house could hear me saying what I'm grateful for, but in my head, I would list off everything I was grateful for. And then there was once in my life that I was looking in the mirror while brushing my teeth and saying grateful things. But for now, right in this moment, I've been doing it on my yoga mat, where I'm really leaning into it in my morning practice to make it this daily reminder. And I'm incorporating it in with tapping. And it's been this really beautiful thing because, like I said, I carry it into my day. sometimes all we need is a shift in perspective. Like, I remember being so mad over the past month and a half that I said, what did I do in a past life to deserve this? And that was not words from me. That was something I heard somewhere. And like, I'm like, the moment I said it, and even the moment I'm saying it now, even, I'm like, that wasn't my words. Like, I don't believe in that. Like, I do believe in past lives, but I'm like, I don't talk like that anymore, because to me, that's negative. And I just like, that doesn't serve anybody, right? Like, it wasn't me, but I was angry. So it's just about a shift in perspective. Like, where am I getting supported? What is going right? Instead of what happened that was wrong. So it's making these shifts in perspective. And I want to share a quote that I've been using a lot lately, especially when, anxiety is coming in, or people are saying depressing things around our house, like not just for myself, but for the family in general, like my kids and things. I've said it for myself, and I said it for my kids and my husband. But this is a quote that has kind of been helping me remember where to live. So the quote is, if you're depressed, you are living in the past. If you are anxious, you are living in the future. And if you are at peace, you are living in the present. By Lao Tzu. And I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. So that quote has been literally reminding me, am I living in the present, the future, or the past? So it's really about being mindful of my emotions and reminding my kids too, like, where are we? Because I just had a conversation with my daughter the other day where I'm like, they were getting worked up about something that hasn't happened yet. And they're just talking. I mean, it got into a really big moment. I'm like, okay, let's pause for a second. And I shared that quote and a couple other things around. I'm like, remember, we don't even know that that's happening. It hasn't happened yet. So it was just a reminder, but also just, some guidance. If we're anxious, we're living in the future because it hasn't even happened yet. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. And if we're depressed, then we're living in the past because the shoulda, woulda, couldas. Oh, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. And it's when we're in the present that we're at peace. Now, does that mean that our present is all going to be awesome and flowing all the time? We might have situations like rain coming through our ceiling in the living room or kitchen, or a head cold that just ruins your weekend, or not feeling supported and having, a school year go start off on the crazy foot, or any other things, but not feeling supported when life truly feels frustrating and hard and not knowing what to do about it. We don't know what's going to happen, but living in the present, choosing the moment to be present, is so much greater and more loving than anything else. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't plan for the future and have ideas for our future. And that doesn't mean we can't look back at the past and be like, ooh, what can I learn from this situation? But it's living in the present moment that brings us peace, our way back to happy. Happiness is happening in the present moment. We can't go back in the past and change a single thing. As much as I wish I could. Actually, my husband texted me the other day. He's like, is there anything I can do for you today? I'm like, can you build a time machine? It's a little joke because we can't go back in time and change anything. We can't go back, but we can learn from past mistakes, past failures, past whatever it is that's making you depressed. The shoulda, woulda, couldas. And we can plan the future, but not to the point where we put ideas of what people are going to tell us in our heads, right? Like, have you ever been before where you'll meet up with somebody and hours before you meet up with them, you're playing the conversation that you're going to have with them in your head? I'm laughing because I have. And it might not be funny to you, but to me it's funny because I can't predict what the other person's going to say. But as humans, we tend to play things out before they happen. And that can really stress us out. It can also cause us problems because then we have these expectations. We either have this expectation that the person's going to be loving and awesome and supporting, which is a great loving energy to walk into a conversation, by the way. Or like I've had in the past with certain people in my life, family members and things like that, where I would play out conversations expecting them to be mean. And like, so already walking into the conversation defensive, or like have my guard up and my walls built, right? And I'm like, oh, so I'm already expecting them to not be nice to me. So when we play out things in our mind, that's where expectations can really start forming. That doesn't mean we can't have plans, but the moment we start putting words in other people's mouths before they even talk, that can make us feel things before that conversation or that hangout even happens. So it's about changing your perspective of things. Living in the present moment. Leaning into gratitude for the things that are going good. And I've said this so many times before, when I was in a really dark place in my 20s, I would even just I couldn't focus on anything good in my life. So I started with the things that I took for granted, that I have eyes that I can see, that I can use my hands, that I can walk. And then I slowly got bigger. Like I have a roof over my head, that my grandma's awesome and letting me live with her, so I can pay back my schooling and, make some money and all that stuff. And then that I have a job to pay my bills, and just, it kept going. So sometimes we just have to start small and look for the little things. Remember from episode 1, celebrate the little wins. Celebrate them. Life can be big and messy and a hot mess, but it's trying to shift perspective. Remember, happiness is not a destination. It's a way of life. And happiness is not looking outside of ourselves, buying a fancy house, car, clothing. Yes, they make life fun, but that's not going to bring us happiness. It might be for a short period of time, but it doesn't bring us that true soul happy smiles that is within us. So it's shifting perspective, remembering the little things in life, the things that matter the most. Like I wake up every day just grateful that I have another day, because we just never know. But sometimes I take that next day for granted. Sometimes I waste it. And then that's another thing, right? It's like, wait a second, I didn't waste it. I relaxed through it. Let me do differently next day, right? We can't go back. We can't change things, but we can learn and shift things. We can create new habits. We can create new routines. My yoga practice isn't perfect. My morning routine isn't perfect. There are days that I may not forget. Let's be honest here. I don't forget that. I'm like, I don't feel like it today. And you want to know something? The days that I do that, I do regret doing that, the skipping part. Because my morning routine is really a beautiful way to start my day. But that doesn't mean that I should beat myself up for it. Be like, right, reminder. I feel like not so great today. I'm not connected to myself as well as I would like to be. Tomorrow, I'm going to show up on my yoga mat. There was actually a day that I remember, I think it was this week actually, Monday, this week. I was like, whatever happens, it doesn't matter how late I get out of bed, how many times I hit the snooze button or whatever, however I feel, I'm going to get on my yoga mat and I'm going to do my strength training like I planned. I made it non-negotiable. So I didn't get as much done in my office, but I had a really amazing day on my yoga mat and with strength training, and I felt really good about it. So sometimes we just need to give ourselves a little gentle shove. Sometimes we need to give ourselves a big, ginormous hug. Sometimes we need to ask for help and support. And sometimes we just need a good cry. And then other times it's, after everything lands on the ground, that all the stuff just, you feel beat up, bruised a little, had a good cry. Take a step back and be like, whoa, that happened. Now, how can I shift things? How can I change perspective? How can I look at this differently? And for me, it's finding those. So with my daughter, it's understanding that know to the people to look to and go to for support now. Like where I do feel supported in the school system. There's definitely some areas where I don't feel supported, and that's okay. Go to the things that are working. And then hopefully over time, it will spill over into more areas of our lives. So it's looking for the good, hanging out with that good. And when you find support, be like, okay, that is where I'm going to go now. We're going to get support. We're going to cut out some middleman and go right to the people that are in my kids' lives. So it's really just understanding and learning and then growing through it. But keeping stuck in these situations, like if I kept replaying them, or if I kept holding on to this at the beginning of the school year, we're going to have a crappy school year. So it's letting go of, one, the expectations I have for the year, for the school, for all the things. Let it go. Find what's working. Include movement in my life. And remember to shift my perspective. And affirmations wherever needed. Where I said, I choose love instead of this. That is one of my favorite things ever. That's from Gabby Bernstein. I mentioned it another time, and I don't know if I said it was from her, but she does I choose love instead of fear. And I kind of just dropped the fear part because it's not always fear I'm feeling. Sometimes it's sadness. Sometimes it's anger. In my case, it's a lot of anger a lot of the time. That mama bear, man, super protective of my baby cubs, man. I know they're not babies anymore, but man, my cubs, they're mom and protective. Like I'm trying to give them the tools so they can fight their own battles or, not even fight, but lovingly move through their life with love and, speak up for themselves and find their own footing and ground. But right now, mama bear mode was super in that moment. Like I was just in it. Anyways, I'm getting off topic now. But I choose love instead of this. And it just feels so good. I remember using it a lot when I'd land in, I'd be walking and I'd be judging others. And I'm like, wait a second, what am I doing? I choose love instead of this. So it's not always about changing our thoughts, but when it's about noticing them, being aware of our thoughts and just shifting perspective, like shifting course, right? So I have a judgmental thought, or I have an angry thought, or I just have this thought that I just don't really love. I choose love instead of this. It's all about shifting your thoughts, shifting your perspective. And I was just feeling so man, beat up over the month and a half that I'm like, what's next? So I was actually anticipating more things that were negative happening. And when I realized that, I'm like, whoa, Jody, we got to put a stop to this train of thought, or at least shift perspectives. And that's when gratitude came into my life, where I'm like, okay, I need to stop looking for the bad and anticipating bad things happening. I was on high alert. After a while, I was just like, what's next? What's going on? And that's when I decided I needed to make a huge shift in my perspective and look for the good and focus on the good that's already here. So I hope that makes sense. And I'm so grateful that you are here and listening. If you found any of these episodes helpful, please share. I'd love to hear about them on social. And email me at info@jodymisiak.com. And share this with others. Let's not keep this a secret. We all go through moments. We all have these things in our life that can happen. And like I mentioned, I think in episode 1, where when we have a problem, to others it might be like, what? That's your problem? That's so little. But when we're living in that problem's huge. It's like a ginormous elephant sitting on your chest. You're just stuck there and you're like, I don't know what to do. And it just feels so heavy and so you're not able to get out. You're like, what am I supposed to do with this? And life feels like it's ending. Because we're all in that problem. You're in it and it's your life. So to others, it might not be that big of a deal. Like, I bet if I talked to the principal, she'd be like, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. It was a horrible mess in our house for almost a week. And like, we had some serious moments in life that like really, really could have hurt if I wasn't a coach and if I didn't know the empowerment scale and didn't use that with my daughter. I don't know where we would have been. And I'm going to share a very honest moment here, and it just came up. And I know I'm running a little late now. But here's the truth. There was a moment that week that I thought, what's the point of living? What's the point of living? Thankfully, 2 seconds later, I caught myself. Because back when I was in high school, I lost a friend who committed suicide. And I promised myself that I would never do that, ever. Because I saw how it was affecting my mom, thinking about losing a child, saw his parents, and everything else after that. And I promised myself, because I've had times in my childhood where I tried. And I promised myself that day that I would never, ever do that to somebody else. Ever. So the moment I had that moment where I'm like, what's the point? Like, let's just get out. And I realized that would have been the easy route for me. It would have made life, like I could have stopped feeling. I didn't have to deal with the shenanigans that was happening at school. I didn't have to figure out how to work out this problem. And then I realized that wouldn't help anybody else in my life. It would actually make my kids' lives so much worse. So I was like, okay, well, that's not the answer for me. That's not what I want to do. So like I said, I had that thought for 2 seconds. And literally 2 seconds later, I was like, right, nope, not the answer. So in full disclosure here, like life can be so heavy and so crappy. But I'm here with you today to share it with you because I want you to know that you're not alone. And sometimes, you know, you might go a month, 2 months, a whole year, maybe years feeling like crap and life isn't flowing. But I'm hoping that this episode or these group of episodes find you and lands with you to help you through the hard times. Because if you are in the hard times and if you haven't listened to episode 1 or 2 or 3, I recommend going back. Listen to this one last. Because the last moment, like after you do all the other little things, it's shifting your perspective. And I'm so, so glad that I did. Because I already can feel life flowing better. Getting support, hanging out with, just really good place. I'm refinding my happy, finding my way back to happy. And the fun thing is, it's always been inside of me. I just needed to reconnect with it. I needed to let the other stuff around me go. I needed to let go of my expectations. I needed to let go of all the other stuff and just love myself a little bit more in that moment and take little steps day by day to get me to this new place. But like I said, and where I was going, I just kind of went on, my own little trip. Like I just kept going down this little road here, which I'm glad I did. But to outsiders looking in our lives, they might not see the size of our problem. But when we're living with that problem and it's our life, it can feel big. So you're not alone if life is feeling heavy, hard, or just not working for you right now. Go back to episode 1 where I say step away from the problem. And that doesn't mean saying goodbye to your life. It means just taking a step maybe to the right or to the left or, a block away and look at the problem through a different set of eyes. Put your love goggles on and really just look at it in a different light. It's still a problem, but when you step away from the problem a little bit, you can see it differently. And that's hopefully when, you can ask for support. You can find the solutions to your problems instead of just feeling like the problem just keeps growing and you have no answers. So like I said, I really hope this helps. I overshared here, so I'm really hoping I didn't stir up too many emotions for people because that just kind of came out that last story that I was like, I really wanted to share. Like I mentioned in a different episode, I'm pretty sure, because it wasn't in this one. I think it was last episode, episode 3. I do everything with intuition. So sometimes I have scripts that I've written out for my podcast, and I try to do intuition and scripting. But this time and the past 4 was all by intuition. And that's why that last story really came out. I had notes, I had point forms and what I wanted to share, but I didn't have a full word for word script. And it's kind of back to my old school days where I didn't take the time to do scripts. And I really just did from intuition. And that's where that story just kind of came out. So I hope it lands well with you. Or if not, I guess try to forget it. Share the love though. Don't let this podcast be a secret. I'm here for everybody. Life can be really heavy and difficult, but there's always a way back to happy. Just need to shift a perspective. And, sometimes get support and let go of expectations and love yourself where you are in this moment, because you are already an amazing human being. You're here listening to this episode, right? You are an amazing person. So keep being awesome. Take care. And next month, I'm actually going to talk about all the things to remind you that you matter too. So take care. And if you want a little bit more guidance, I have a free masterclass. It's all about self-love. And it's called Reclaim Your Joy. So it gives you 3 steps you can do to reclaim your joy today and help you thrive in all areas of your life. It's over on my website. There'll be a link in the podcast description. And I look forward to connecting with you again. Reach out to me via email, on social, and I will talk to you again soon. Take care and have a beautiful, beautiful day. Bye for now.